In your book, you wrote, emotional abuse is one of the most difficult types of abuse to identify because it is so hidden, insidious, and confusing. So, what is emotional abuse? And also the forms, how do we identify what it looks like to be emotionally abused?
Well, the overarching definition that I use is that emotional abuse is like brainwashing. It just slowly erodes the victim's sense of self, their self-confidence, and even their trust in themselves. They start to doubt their own perceptions. They may even start to doubt their very sanity. And technically, emotional abuse is any non-physical behavior that is intended to control or intimidate or demean, humiliate, isolate another person. And I divide abusers into two categories, intentional and unintentional, which we can talk about later. But all emotional abuse is about control. Even if the person isn't intending to do it, it's controlling behavior. In my book, I list all the different types of emotional abuse. It's everything from verbal abuse to having unreasonable expectations to constant criticism, gaslighting, which we've been hearing more because of politics, crossing boundaries, stalking, being overly jealous, refusing to let your partner go anywhere because of your jealousy. There's just a whole lot of different types, the silent treatment, but there's a huge, huge list of the different types of emotional abuse. But basically, it's one partner trying to control the other, and it's a brainwashing of the victim.
How did they become abusers? Usually they are abused themselves, right?
Yes. And in my book, I focus on shame. And most abusers were very deeply shamed. It's even more important than recognizing that they've been abused. They were often very, very shamed. And that doesn't necessarily look like abuse. If you have a parent who's always disappointed in you, who's, rolls their eyes at your behavior, who compares you to other children and says, I wish you were more like Johnny. What's wrong with you? Why are you acting that way? You're such a disappointment to me. People might not describe that as emotional abuse. It is, but it's more focused on shaming the child. If someone's deeply, deeply shamed, especially male children, females as well, but especially males, if they're deeply shamed or humiliated, they tend to build up a protective wall around them to protect them from any further shame. And so they end up being people who can't take any criticism or any suggestions. They can't be wrong. They can't admit they're wrong. They just can't take any more shame. And so they become these walled off people. And it's very hard for someone like that to take in love, to take in anything positive. And they have to kind of isolate and cocoon themselves so that they don't feel any more shamed. And that's what most abusers are doing. They're going to criticize you before you have a chance to criticize them. They're on the defense. They're going to make you wrong so you can't make them wrong. And so they don't have to feel any more shame.